Don't you love a new box of crayons? Don't you love just any kind of crayon? Well, today in this class, I have the best thing to show you. It's a different kind of crayon. It's kind of the upscale version of crayon. And I'm going to show you something to do with it, how to do an art journal page with these crayons. They're really cool crayons. So I think you're gonna have some fun. So it's going to take a little bit of playing around with and experimenting with, because there's a little serendipity kind of quality happening with these crayons and this technique. That's part of the fun. That's what art journaling is about. Serendipity, being open to what happens, and then just go where the muse takes you. So here we go. Let's talk about supplies. So let me show you the supplies that you're going to use today. To start with, of course, if you're going to art journal, you got to have an art journal. So this is the one I'm going to use today. And this is the one I've demonstrated in for several of the pages that I've shown. Look, my dirty craft mat. Sorry about that. Anyway, I digress. This is the Strathmore Mixed Media Vellum Surface. And this size is 5.5 by 8.5 is the size. And it is 90-pound paper. And it's the 300 series. And you'll notice that I've removed the spiral binding out here because it makes it a little bit easier to work with when you can just take the pages out and have them flat on the surface, especially when I'm showing you how to do something. So there is your art journal. So get yourself an art journal. And I wouldn't get an art journal that's too big for this one. A smaller size is better. Or do it on a small piece of paper and insert it into, glue it in, tape it in, whatever, in your bigger art journal. Now, the big important thing about this technique is you need the vellum surface, which means, translation for vellum surface, you want something really, really smooth. That's how I interpret vellum surface. There may be a more sophisticated way to explain vellum surface, but I'm sticking with it. Okay, so that's our art journal. You're also going to use a heat it tool. Okay, so this is the Ranger Heat It tool, craft tool. Any heat gun's going to be fine. I like this one just because it's quiet and it doesn't force a lot of air, and so it doesn't blow your paint and stuff around in your whatever you're using. Okay, next thing you're going to need is this thing back down here. This is the non-stick craft mat. It's also heat resistant as well as non-stick. You're going to need something that isn't going to screw up your table. So you can use a cutting board or any kinds of thing. This I like just because it's non-stick, it's heat resistant, covers it all in one go. We're going to use a squeegee, and so here are a couple of suggestions or different kinds of squeegees to use. This one happens to be a bona fide squeegee from the Speedball company. And this is used for, actually it has two different sides on it. How interesting. You know what? I just now noticed that. This side says graphic. I don't know if you can see that. Graphic. There it is, graphic. And this side says fabric. Does that tell you anything? I didn't even realize I had two different sides. Oh well. It doesn't really matter to me because I use them both. This happens to be a squeegee, a bona fide squeegee for doing screen printing. I bought it in the sale bin, so hence why I have it. Because I haven't done a whole lot of screen printing, but I'm ready. I'm ready. I got the Speedball paint, ink, and I got the squeegee, so I'm ready. If you don't have one of those, you can use a piece of cardboard. This is like the back of a watercolor tablet. It's the back cardboard from the watercolor tablet. And the reason I'm showing it to you like this is because it's really thick. It's really, really, really sturdy. It's much sturdier than your average chipboard. So that works great too. And so the thing is you want it to be as flat as possible. And when it's sturdy and it gets paint on it, it tends not to warp. So now I may also use credit card style squeegee thing or a room key. I always save those. So something to squeegee with. You're going to need some glue. And this is the Elmer's washable no-run school glue gel. The important thing is that it's gel glue, and you want to look for the blue one. You can see it's got a blue tint. And you want this. There is also a clear gel, or a clear glue, but it does not have the word gel on the label, and it doesn't work for this technique very well. So I would stick with this one. And you can find this particular washable no-run school glue gel, which is a tremendous tongue twister, by the way. But you can find this in craft stores. You can find it in office supply stores. It's pretty readily available, I have found. Now you're going to need a short quote of some kind, and if you're like me, you might have a book that you put quotes in. That's what this is. Whenever I find a quote, I write it in my little book here, or if all else fails, I have a bunch of pieces of paper that are usually chucked in my book to put the quotes in the book when I should. Now, if you don't have someplace like that where you collect quotes, which most of us that get into doing mixed media and art journaling and stuff tend to do that. If you don't, all you need to do is just look up online. There's lots of sources for selecting quotes. Just look it up, just search, and you'll find all different kinds of things. Just put in the word that you're wanting to kind of do something about, because this particular journal page is all about the words. So the quote needs to be short, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a minute. The suspense has got to be killing you. It's got to be killing you, I know. All right, you're going to need some scrap paper, which just means exactly what I said. I save most of my pieces of paper that, I've printed out stuff on. I save that, and I use that for working on top of, because then I can chuck it and I don't feel bad about it because I've used it twice. I've used both sides, so I'm good with that. You're going to use some craft paint. Now, don't waste really super good, expensive paint on this technique. It's an art journal page, and you want to use craft paint. This is cheap, and it's serendipitous, as I said, and so if it messes up a little bit, you won't feel bad if you've not invested a lot of money in the paint. So, craft paint. It's easy to use. It's inexpensive. Get yourself some craft paint. I'm going to use two colors for this. This one is Bahama Blue by Americana. This one is Ceramcoat Lime Green. I just use a couple of colors that are somewhat similar in tone. So these are both kind of medium color. They have some white in them. They're not real intense. The pigment is not real intense. So a couple of colors of craft paint. Also, I'm going to use a bottle of the Distress paint. This is Black Soot, and I'm going to use this to edge the pages. You can also use an ink pad, but the Distress paint is so easy to use. That's why I like it. You're going to need some paper towels, and just plain old paper towels, nothing fancy. And now the paper crafter crayons. So here are a couple of the labels from these fun crayons that I'm going to use. And right now, as far as I know, when I got mine, this is how they were sold. Now, I don't know if they've changed it, if they're selling them individually, if they're still in sets. But how I bought mine, that's not very good English, is it? The way I bought mine is in these mix and match sets. And they're called Paper Crafter Crayons. They're sharpenable, waterproof, permanent, break resistant, and acid free. So how much better can you get, really? And there's a lot of pigment in the little stick that they come in that I'm going to show you. So these are the two sets that I have. There is a third set, I think a neutral set or a flesh tone, different flesh tones or something. Anyway, these are the two that I bought and that I'm going to play with. So let me show you how they come. When you buy